After 3 years in early access, Baldur's Gate 3 will be released in August 2023. Larian Studios' highly anticipated RPG will pick up the story 120 years after Baldur's Gate 2, Shadows of Am, and a few months after the events of Baldur's Gate, Descent into Avernus, an adventure book for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Despite the huge time jump, it's already been confirmed that a fan-favorite character from the original Baldur's Gate games will be returning. Crazy hamster owner, mean and versatile, Minsc the Ranger appeared dramatically out of a live impersonation in the recent Game Awards trailer for Baldur's Gate 3. Minsc and his hamster Boo make one of the most memorable partnerships in RPG history, with a rich history spanning multiple games, novels, and comics. Minsc at Baldur's Gate 1. Minsc first appeared in the original Baldur's Gate, where he can be recruited as a companion in Chapter 2. Minsc, a human forester from the distant land of Rashaman, also known as the Land of the Berserkers, traveled to Am during its Dejma, a Rashami coming-of-age ceremony in which young men travel to distant lands for a year. When players first meet Minsc, he is separated from his Rashami companion, Dinaer, whom he is sworn to protect on his journey, bringing the two together, either by joining Minsc in its rescue effort or by rescuing Dinaer separately, and then reintroducing them, has given players the ability to recruit both. While generally good-natured, Minsc is fanatically devoted to both protecting Dinaer and destroying evil, making him an unpredictable companion who can become enraged if provoked. Players can find out for themselves by brutally rejecting his offer to join the party, which could lead to Minsc being attacked. Despite her devotion to Dinaer, Minsc's first love is Boo, her pet hamster. According to Minsc, Boo is actually a miniature giant space hamster, an unknown species with immense intelligence and the ability to speak, though only Minsc can understand him. There isn't much evidence to support this, however, and many of Minsc's companions will outright claim that the Ranger's belief in Boo's intelligence and ability to talk is simply the result of his own confused mind. In battle, Minsc can often be heard ordering Boo to go for the eyes, an attack that proved effective in their battle against the Red Dragon Deniak and inspired Easter eggs in Mass Effect, Neverwinter Nights, and Torment, Tides of Numbers. Minsc in Baldur's Gate 2, Shadows of Am. As a fan-favorite character from Baldur's Gate 1, Minsc has been with the player since the sequel's opening sequence. However, he suffers greatly from the loss of Dinaer, who died in the ambush in which the rest of Baldur's Gate comrades were captured and tortured. This loss is reflected in a change in Minsc's racial enemy from gnolls, the creatures that captured Dinaer in the first game, to vampires, the monsters responsible for his death shortly before the events of Baldur's Gate 2. Once players have freed Minsc from his cage by enraging him enough to bend the bars, he and Boo will join them for the rest of their adventure in Baldur's Gate 2. Depending on the player's choices, there is a chance that Minsc the Averial Cleric adopts Aerie as a new witch to protect, just as she swore to protect Dinaer. In this case, Minsc will be enraged if Aerie is killed in battle. The other adventures of the Minsc. As revealed in the game's epilogue, after the events of Baldur's Gate 2, Minsc returned to Rashaman and was inducted into the Ice Dragon Berserker Lodge for his exploits. He then formed his own band of adventurers, the Justice Fist, before mysteriously disappearing while traveling the realms. Minsc returned to D&D canon in the 2014 comic Dungeons & Dragons, Legends of Baldur's Gate, which revealed that he and Boo were somehow petrified and treated like a statue at Baldur's Gate for over a century. When the statue was struck by an explosion of wild magic during the events of the comics, Minsc and Boo were finally freed, nearly a century after their original adventures. Minsc and Boo teamed up with a group known as the Heroes of Baldur's Gate and continued their story throughout the Forgotten Realms setting of Nine Hells during the events of Descent into Avernus. It's not yet clear what role Minsc will play in Baldur's Gate 3, but he appears to be introduced by Jaira, another companion from the original Baldur's Gate games whose return in the sequel has already been confirmed. According to the voiceover, Minsc has been captured by a cult, a mistake she suspects they will soon regret, as Minsc is not the kind of man who takes captivity kindly. Baldur's Gate 3 will be released on PC in August 2023. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and support my channel.